How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video, Chaos Prime, and we are here with video 2 as promised. Now, the case today wasn't live streamed or audio streamed. As such, we are going by a detailed breakdown by Florian Mueller, who was actually present at the case and provided us with tweets. So we are going to go through this to get an understanding of what went on. So if you do find this video useful and informative and want to support what I do, please do consider leaving a like, a subscribe, because it does really help the channel grow. It really helps the channel get noticed. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, it really helps me get to that 1,000 sub goal that I'm aiming for right now. Thank you very much. On with the video. Judge Corley has made it clear once again that this matter will be decided swiftly. Now, this is of course in relation to the case having to be done fast because of the impending date that Microsoft has. Of course, she recently just threw out the private lawsuit as well, saying that it would delay the case. And honestly, there's basically no new grounds for them to come back on. And that email that they decided, hey, this is, they're planning on putting PlayStation out of business. I'll be honest with you, that's every company's wet dream. If you think for a split second that Amazon wouldn't be happy if Google went out of business, you're delusional. That would literally be their wet dream for, a decade at the very least. Trust me, that's literally every company's dream. So it got thrown out, and that was the end of that. Sony testimony will be a video, which is really weird, right? Because if you think back, Jim Ryan turned around and said that if there's any, damage, if there's any change to Call of Duty, if it's degraded in any way on PlayStation as opposed to Xbox, if the quality of Call of Duty is hampered in any way, PlayStation couldn't recover. There's no way that PlayStation could survive if that were to happen. And yet, the most important time for a case, in this case's history, since its, creation, and the guy can't even be able to turn up. I mean, I don't know how else to put it other than the fact that he's been chatting shit the whole time. And that's me putting it nicely. He's been lying out of his teeth, and there's no way to cross-examine anything he says either, because it's just a video. He's not even going to be there as a live feed. It's pretty disrespectful to the trial, but it also shows that he really doesn't care if Call of Duty is lost. He just wants to cause trouble and make things difficult for Microsoft. Sony testimony will be a video, FTC lawyer James Weingarten just said. So it will be a recording of Jim Ryan's deposition in the FTC's in-house case, not a live video conference with him, which again just undermines everything that Jim Ryan was saying in regards to how important Call of Duty is to PlayStation, and that without Call of Duty or a degraded version of Call of Duty, it would, signal the end of PlayStation. And if it's that important, how can you not be bothered to turn up to defend your case in pretty much the pivotal point of this case? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Judge Corley is inclined to agree with Microsoft and Activision that a few in-house litigation regulatory council members, 3 from Microsoft, 2 from Activision, should have access to non-public trial exhibits. However, the FTC does not want to allow in-house counsel to get access. The FTC says it has concerns. Basically, the FTC is saying if we let them see this, they're going to know that we have no defense, and they're going to be able to rip us to shreds, and we will lose. So we don't want them looking at this, so they can't poke holes in it. Judge Corley now asked Microsoft to explain why so many in-house attorneys need access. I mean, considering the FTC has concerns, why one of them has to be, why do they want 5 people? Microsoft explains that they need several people working on this given how speedy these proceedings are, which makes perfect sense, right? This is an expedited case. You want all hands on deck to try and cover as much ground as humanly possible with so you can provide an informed decision. It's not rocket science at this point. It's just common sense. A lawyer for Sony is now speaking. She was actually sitting behind me, but now stepped forward to explain Sony's position on this. Sony would like to designate some documents or parts thereof as so confidential so that Microsoft in-house counsel would not get to see them. Essentially, they want to cover their dirty laundry or private contracts or exclusivity deals that could be used against them if this were to be exposed to the courts or anywhere else. So by Microsoft not having access to this, it's Sony can say what they want, hide what they want, and, well, no one will be none the wiser. Judge Corley just made a joke when Microsoft counsel Beth Wilkinson clarified that the 5 lawyers are not all Microsoft, but 3 Microsoft and 2 Activision, that they may soon all be Microsoft lawyers. Basically, if the merger goes through, all the Activision and Microsoft lawyers will be united as one. But that was not like a prediction of the outcome. It was just a joke, but you can see where this is going. Of course, anything can happen, right? The opening statements will be 20 minutes per party, and they will go right to the merits as opposed to arguing the legal standard, which is fair. You know, get straight to the point. Don't argue any legal standard. Don't bring any political jargon into this. There's no time for that. We just need the factual information, get it in there, get it done, and we can base our decisions based on the information that's important. The FTC does not want any of Microsoft and Activision's witnesses to testify about pro-competitive effects of the agreements with the likes of Nintendo and the European Commission remedies. This is really important, right? Because I covered this in one of my previous videos. The FTC does not want Microsoft to put forward or, bring witnesses that can testify that what they are doing is pro-competitive. The European Commission, with the remedies that they put in place with 10-year deals, free licensing, so anyone can use the Xbox, Microsoft, and Activision games for free on their cloud services, and Microsoft can't get a penny while they're using it on their cloud services. They want to stop that information from being presented as a possible decision, as a possible defense, as a possible witness statement to the judge on the day, because they know that if they provide this information, the FTC's case just goes from bad to worse, and they almost lose all legitimate legs to stand on. Add to that, there's the whole Nintendo angle of this as well, where they will get Call of Duty after a decade, and the fact that Nintendo has survived pretty well without Call of Duty for over 10 years. So it's clear that Sony's statement about them dying and not being able to survive without Call of Duty is a whole pile of BS, because Nintendo proves that that is basically a bunch of lies. But the FTC here trying to prevent positive pro-competitive actions from being discussed at the court is pretty disgusting. Judge Corley is not prepared to rule on this out of context, which basically means that she wants all the information present on the table, and I guess she's going to deny the FTC's request to have these pro-competitive effects of the agreements ignored, and is going to want to hear all of it. The Nvidia deal, the European Commission remedies, what it means for Nintendo, and so forth. Microsoft's lawyer Beth Wilkinson explained that the FTC did not raise the issue of Microsoft having asserted privilege over some of those documents until yesterday. It looks like the FTC is engaging in gamesmanship, because those agreements and the European Commission remedies do matter. But what the FTC is trying to say is they don't matter because they were wrong decisions, and what Microsoft is doing with those 10-year deals, free licenses, is not pro-competitive, but is actually anti-competitive. So giving your games away to other publishers for free and allowing them to run your games for free is seen as anti-competitive. Sure thing, bro. Judge Corley repeatedly clarified that this is a bench, not jury trial. So it's not like the admissibility of testimony must be clarified beforehand to the same extent. She can always strike something subsequently. So it's up to, unlike in a jury trial where it has to be brought to the judge, it has to be brought to the front. Anything has to be submitted so both parties are fully aware. What she's saying here is we don't really have to go into that depth because this isn't that sort of a trial. But if I need to rule something out based on the fact that the other party should have had access to this and didn't, and they're at a disadvantage, I will rule out that piece of information. So the FTC here is walking a very, very, dangerous line. The FTC expects to call witnesses tomorrow who are Microsoft employees, including Matt Booty, one of whose emails was discussed a lot yesterday, though it doesn't really seem relevant. And even if it is brought up in trial, saying for him to explain why he said what he said 4 years ago, well, all he has to turn around and say is exactly what I said at the beginning of this video, or was it in my last video? It is every company's wet dream to steal to take the other company and make them go out of business so they can take their customer, their clientele, and keep it for themselves. If you asked Amazon today, would you like to take all of Google's customers and have Google go out of business? And if you said that you could make that happen with the flick of a wand, they would be worshipping you like there's no tomorrow. Because it's a common business 101. You go into business to be successful, not to support your competitors. So when someone turns around and goes, we want to make sure that our competitors get closed down. Yeah, of course they do. You think Sony doesn't want Xbox to shut down and go away? Of course they do. It's like I said, it's such a pointless statement, and it's such a pointless piece of drama. So I really hope that that's not going to be brought up, and if it is, I'm assuming Judge Corley is just going to look at it with the most sarcastic face and just tell them to just be quiet and move on to the next topic. The hearing status conference finished at that point, and they will start again tomorrow morning. So hopefully tomorrow morning, when they actually go with the cross-examinations, we'll have a bit more in-depth as to what was going on and what went on in that trial. Expect another video, obviously, from me tomorrow, but that is going to be it for this video. What do you think? I think the judge is actually being really fair. I think the Judge Corley is actually being pretty professional. She is pretty much trying to expedite this case. She's being, holding all of them accountable, making sure none of the documents, none of the submitted stuff is being held back. So everyone can provide a perfectly reasonable response within the time frame, so no one feels, cheated. But at the same time, the FTC is clearly playing underhanded tricks, trying to, almost scurry their way through by trying to make things that are absolutely relevant, like the European Commission's remedies, seem irrelevant, which honestly, on the grand scale of things, they're basically turning around on a global scale and saying, right, what we say as the Federal Trade Commission is the only standing point that matters when it comes to regulators. The fact that the European Commission is one of the biggest regulators out of the top three, with the CMA, EC, and the FTC, they're basically saying that the European Commission doesn't count, doesn't matter, is completely irrelevant in this. And, well, in the future, they might as well not even be consulted because their decisions don't match our decisions. And because it doesn't match our decisions, they're not relevant. Like, in what world does Lena Khan actually live in to be able to even have the audacity to come up with a statement like that? It just blows my mind. But let me know in the comment section below what you think. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. Remain legend.